Hello friends, today we'll start third module JavaScript and PHP. We'll try to understand what is JavaScript and what can it do. JavaScript is an object-oriented, dynamically typed scripting language. JavaScript is a scripting language. Okay, object-oriented, dynamically typed scripting language. Not a programming language like C, C++, Java like that. It is a scripting language. It is primarily a client-side scripting language. Okay, it is primarily client-side scripting language. Client means what? Okay, so whenever you open a website, example www.kar.nic.in example. Okay, so while you are typing in your computer is a client. Okay, so where that website is saved, it is in server. Okay, you are requesting the particular website. Okay, in your computer, in your client computer. Okay, where the website is present, it is in server computer. Okay, from server that website display in your client computer. So our computer is what? Client computer. So it is primarily a client-side scripting language. Okay, so it is primarily used to execute in our computer scripting language. It is completely different from the programming languages Java. Okay, so JavaScript. Okay, JavaScript is completely different from the programming language Java. JavaScript is an object-based language. It is an object-based language with only few object-oriented features. Okay, with only very few object-oriented features. Okay, not all the features. Like in C++, Java, you have all the features. That not all that features are available in JavaScript. Okay, some features are available, not all. It runs directly inside the browser. Where you execute this JavaScript, it is in browser. It may be Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, Opera. Okay, so anywhere you can run your scripting language without the need for the JVM. Okay, Java Virtual Machine. Java Virtual Machine is not necessary to execute your JavaScript. JVM required in Java programs, not in JavaScript. Whereas Java is fully object-oriented language. Okay, JavaScript not fully object-oriented. Only few features are there. Only very few object-oriented features. Okay, but Java is what? Fully object-oriented language, which runs on any platform with a Java virtual machine. Okay, in those computer, JVM is present. In that computer, you can execute Java programs. Without JVM, you can't execute Java program. JavaScript is dynamically typed. It is what? Dynamically typed. Also called weakly typed. Variables can be easily converted from one data type to another. Okay, you can convert one data type to another, int to float, float to int. Okay, like this, float to double. Okay, like we can convert any data type. Okay, it is a dynamically typed. Okay, so it keeps on update. Whenever it changes, it's update. Okay, the data type of a variable can be changed during runtime. Okay, the data type of variable can be changed during runtime. Okay, Java is a statically typed. Okay, Java is what? Statically typed, not dynamically, but JavaScript is dynamically typed. Java is what? Statically typed. The data type of variable is defined by programmer, example int abc, and enforced by the compiler. Okay. Client-side scripting. Okay, I explained JavaScript is what? It is a client-side scripting language. Client-side scripting is important one in web development. This is one very important in web development. It refers to the client machine, that is browser, which runs code locally. Okay, it refers to the client machine which runs code locally. Now you execute all the JavaScript program in browser. okay, in website web browser. Okay, maybe Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, Opera, okay, etc. It does not depend on the server to execute code and return the result. So JavaScript not depend on server computer to execute code. Okay. Okay, and to get the result also it not depend on the server computer. However, if required, the client machine can download and execute JavaScript code received from server. Okay, normally server not required. If suppose it require, okay, assume it not possible to execute in client computer, so at that time server computer is required. Okay, if required, client machine can download and execute JavaScript code received from the server. Okay, can receive the JavaScript code from server, then you can execute. Okay, if it not execute in client, the execution of script take place at the client. Okay, but the execution take place at client only. Okay, there are many client-side languages like Flash, VBScript, Java, and JavaScript. Okay, there are many client-side languages. Okay, which are the client-side languages? Flash for animation purpose, VBScript, how JavaScript is there. Okay, similarly VBScript also is there. Java and JavaScript. Okay, so sometime if client unable to execute, okay, so it requires some file to the server. Okay, so this is a browser. Okay, this is Java, execute any JavaScript as required. This is browser. Okay, so okay, it asks to the server. Okay, so any files or any supports it asks to the server, then it responds. Okay, this client request, okay, to the server, then server responds it. Okay, so in one browser it works correctly, in another browser it may not works. Okay, that is the one problem of this client-side scripting. Heavy web applications can be complicated to debug and maintain. Okay, if it is a very large website development, there are many pages out there. Okay, at that time it's very complicated to debug and maintain. JavaScript often uses inline HTML that are embedded into HTML of a web page. Okay, so JavaScript often uses inline HTML. Okay, means you are using your JavaScript within HTML code. Okay, that are embedded into HTML of web page. This has the distinct disadvantages of blending HTML and JavaScript together. Okay, this is what this has a distinct disadvantage of blending HTML and JavaScript together. Okay, if you combine JavaScript with HTML code, okay, so it has some problem. This methodology decreases code readability. Okay, this method what happens, decreases code readability. Okay, HTML code also is there, JavaScript code also is there. Okay, so it decreases the methodology of code readability and increases the difficulty of web development. It increases the difficulty in web development. If you combine HTML code and JavaScript, okay, it's little difficult to develop websites. Okay. There are other client-side approaches to web programming. Okay, ActionScript and JavaScript. Adobe Flash is a vector-based drawing and animation program. Adobe Flash is what? Vector-based drawing and animation program. A video file format. Adobe Flash is especially for to create animation. Okay, to create cartoons. Okay, so video file format and software platform that has its own JavaScript like programming language called ActionScript. Okay, so it has what? Own software platform that has its own JavaScript like programming. Okay, even Adobe Flash has contain what? Some own JavaScript programming language that is called ActionScript. Flash is often used for animated advertisements and online games and can be also used to construct web interfaces. Okay, Flash is used for what? Animation and for advertisements, animated advertisement, and for online games also. Okay, and can also use to construct web interfaces, to create interfaces also this Adobe Flash is used. The second alternative to JavaScript is Java applets. Okay, the one more alternative to JavaScript is what? Java applets. And applet is a term that refers to a small application. This is what? Small application that performs a relatively small task. To perform small task, Java applet is used. Java applets are written using the Java programming language and are separate objects that are included within an HTML document via the applet tag. Okay, so the Java applets can be written using Java programming language. Okay, and that's separate. There are two files. Java applet file is separate, your Java file is separate. That Java applets are included within HTML document via applet tag. They are downloaded and then passed on to a Java plugin. This plugin then passes on the execution of the applet outside the browser to the Java runtime environment that is installed on the client machine. Okay, that applet program runs in client machine. Then JavaScript history and uses. JavaScript was introduced by Netscape in their Navigator browser back in 1966. Okay, so JavaScript was introduced by Netscape Navigator browser in 1996. In 1996. It is originally was called LiveScript. Originally, JavaScript was called LiveScript because one of the original purposes was to provide control over Java applets. Okay, so JavaScript is used to control Java applets. JavaScript is an implementation of a standardized scripting language called ECMAScript. Okay. In 2000s, JavaScript became a much more important part of web development with the emergence of Ajax. Okay, so in 2000, JavaScript became a much more important part of web development with the emergence of Ajax. Ajax is an acronym of asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Okay, Ajax is what? Asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Ajax is a technique for creating better, faster and more interactive web applications with the help of XML, HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Ajax is what? It is a technique for creating better, faster and more interactive web applications with the help of XML, HTML, CSS and JavaScript. The most important way that this responsiveness is created is via asynchronous data request via JavaScript and XML HTTP request object. This object was added to JavaScript by Microsoft as an ActiveX control. Okay, so here suppose you need some objects, you need some updates in your browser. Okay, at that time you need to request to the server here. Okay, so initially in first step, browser request to the server. Okay, so server response, okay, whatever you requested from the client, okay, server response it. Okay, then user select country, then click update button. Okay, sometimes you need to select some countries. Okay, there are country option is there, then you need to update. Okay, while you filling the form, okay, it asks to select the country. Okay, if you select the country, then it displays the states. Okay, for different countries there are different states. If you select that particular country, only the states of that country will displays. Okay, so you need to update. Okay, so when you select this any country, okay, you need to update it. Okay, to update again you have to go back to server and okay, you get updated. Okay, request page with updated form is returned. Okay, so it requests from client to the server responds it, then it get updated. Okay, then user continues with form, perhaps triggering other requests, then it continues the filling the form. The above diagram shows the processing flow for a page that requires updates based on user inputs using normal synchronous non-Ajax page request response loop. Okay, this is using what? Without using Ajax. Okay. Ajax provides web authors with a way to avoid the visual and temporal deficiencies of normal HTTP interactions. Okay, so if you use the Ajax, okay, Ajax provides what? Web authors with a way to avoid the visual and temporal deficiency of normal HTTP interaction. Okay, if you use Ajax, that it avoids what? Normal HTTP hypertext transfer protocol interaction. With Ajax web pages, it is possible to update sections of a page by making special requests of the server in the background. Okay, with Ajax web pages, it is possible to update sections of a page by making what? Special request of the server in the background only. Okay, creating the illusion of continuity. Okay, so you feel that you are not requested server. Okay, if you use the Ajax with Ajax web pages, okay, you can update in the background only. Okay, creating what? Illusion of continuity. Okay, you feel that you are not requested to the server. The other key developments in the history of JavaScript are jQuery, Prototype, ASP.NET, Ajax, and Move tools. Okay, so these are some developments in the history of JavaScript. These JavaScript frameworks reduce the amount of JavaScript code required to perform typical Ajax tasks. Okay, this JavaScript frameworks reduce the what? Amount of JavaScript code. The code become reduced to perform Ajax tasks. Recently introduced MVC JavaScript frameworks such as AngularJS, Backbone, and Knockout have gained a lot of interest from developers wanting to move more data processing and handling from server-side script to HTML page.